Daryl, Zoe, good to talk with you both about how it ends. How are you both doing? Good?
Yeah,
Good.
doing
Good.
good. Nice
Good.
to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you. So I was just telling Zoe before we started that I saw this at Sundance and really enjoyed it. Um,
Well, thank you.
yeah. I'll tell you what I liked about it right from the start. I had more than my fill of pandemic movies. I feel like everybody was doing one, and I felt like yours wasn't trying to make a statement about the pandemic or anything like that. I feel like it was kind of doing its own thing. I guess Zoe will start with you, or whoever wants to answer it. Was it your plan to make a pandemic movie, or was it your plan to kind of do your own thing the way it came across to me?
Um, well, we conceived of this film during the pandemic while in quarantine, pretty early on in quarantine. And I think both Daryl and I were, I guess, like looking for a way to navigate existential questions slash crises through our filmmaking, which is something that we tend to do as artists anyway. And this was like, you know, a very overwhelming time for the world at large emotionally. And I think we also were feeling uncertain about the future of filmmaking and didn't know um, when we would be able to make art again in that medium. And I think there was a part of us that wanted to challenge ourselves to see if we could create a narrative that worked within the parameters of the pandemic and to do so safely, but also, like what is the story that we need to tell at this moment? And I think it was, yeah, that intersection of creating a film that was sort of pandemic adjacent so that it wasn't so specifically about, we felt as viewers that we didn't want to be watching anything about the pandemic. We wanted to escape the pandemic, but we also wanted to feel that we were, yeah, hitting on emotional themes that felt resonant to what we were all going through at that time and continue to sort of be navigating now. So yeah, I think we wanted to, like, creating an apocalyptic atmosphere felt like we could dive into some of those themes without it being about the exact thing we were living.
Counter programming.
Along those lines, Daryl, do you, when you were coming up, how did you come up with the idea for the story for this one? Like you said, it's pandemic adjacent, but there's a story about Liz and what she's going through. Where did that idea come from? Where did that emerge from?
That idea emerged from conversations that Zoe and I started having early pandemic as we were navigating our own emotional states as people living during that time and struggling with a lot of emotions and, feeling depressed and sad and, not wanting to leave the house, which similar to Liza in the film.
Yeah.
It's the last day and she's like, why would I go outside? I just want to stay here and, eat and drink till I puke. So I think Zoe and I were, at that time we were really interested in, we were doing a lot of work in therapy, on ourselves and exploring our inner children. And looking into the past traumas that we've experienced and just going back in time and seeing the experiences that have shaped us and turned us into people that we are now, and thought, okay, well, that could be an interesting narrative to explore. It's personal to us, and we think a lot of people can relate to self-help in a way and self-acceptance during this moment in history, but not have it be about the pandemic, have there be a kind of thematic and emotional overlap, and work it around the circumstances. Like, we obviously can't do a big production. It's going to be tough to shoot in a lot of locations that are inside. So maybe we can craft this thing where we're walking through LA or moving through LA outside. And that's kind of how we kind of came up with that kind of structure where, the character would get to connect with people, which I think Zoe and I were really desperate to do with our friends who we hadn't seen. So it's like, okay, let's make a movie where we can connect with literally all of our friends, and just let it, and then it just kind of blossomed from there.
Zoe, one of the things that I really liked about it is that it gives me an LA that I've never seen before. One, it's somebody walking, which almost never happens. You don't see that very often. And two, there's virtually no activity. I mean, there's people doing things, but there's no cars and stuff like that. Was that always like? I don't know if you guys set it up to be that way, or if that's just kind of how. Was it just like a desolate ghost town out there during the time that you were shooting? Or what, how did that come about?
It was, I mean, LA was surreal in terms of how empty the streets were at the beginning of the pandemic. And I think that was intentional. Like we both wanted to jump on that moment, Daryl especially, to like capture this moment in time that otherwise would be impossible, or incredibly expensive to create. And I think, yeah, we'd still had to work around a lot of, not a lot, but we had to work around cars. And Daryl was also the cinematographer, and was operating camera. So yeah, there was like holding for cars because we wanted to make sure that it felt eerie and empty. And I think the walk and talk element was something that we felt like we hadn't totally seen before in LA, and it could serve as sort of a love letter to LA, but also create, just like a strange and surreal atmosphere for us to be exploring on the last day on Earth.
Daryl, what kind of challenges did you guys face? Not necessarily in terms of like the shoot itself, but in just gathering so many people to get together for this film. There's an amazing cast you guys have assembled for this. It's incredible, actually. I imagine there must have been some challenges in getting all this thing put together.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, I guess the biggest challenges were like, dealing with all the safety and COVID protocols, and just from a health perspective, making sure people felt comfortable, and, we were distanced and, adhered to all that stuff. So people felt like, okay, we can do this. That was definitely a challenge. And yeah, I think just emotionally, like, we were stuck inside for a while and we were scared and there was a lot of fear. So it was a lot about just like, can we do this? Like, are we physically and emotionally and spiritually able to create right now? I think that was a big question for us as artists. And, I guess that's what artists do, right? We're always like wrestling with those inner feelings about the world and reflecting back what we see. And so, I think Zoe and I we definitely had some debates about, well, should we just like spend our time learning how to like cook, a new dish, or like learn how to like macrame. But I tend to push us to make work instead of relaxing, which is to my, is that can definitely be to my detriment at times. But I don't know any other way. I love to create things out of difficult circumstances. The masochist and Jew inside of me that likes to feel tortured. Anyway.
Zoe, you and Kaylee are terrific together. She plays the younger version of Liza. How did that work out? Because the thing that surprised me when I think of the two of you as actresses, I don't see you as being like kind of in the same box necessarily. But you really do. She does sort of feel like a younger version of you. It's a really terrific dynamic that you two build together. Talk to me a little bit about how that worked out. How you two work together.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I had written and directed a film called The Craft Legacy for Blumhouse and Sony. It came out last year, and Kaylee was the star of that film, and so we had spent a lot of time because in that film I had written her character to be sort of a version of my adolescent self, and so in in working on that film, we had already done a lot of work on how my younger self related to Kaylee's younger self and sort of how she was going to embody that. And then we stopped shooting that film like right just a couple months before we went into lockdown. So Kaylee and I were still very much enmeshed creatively and had formed this incredible bond also, just as friends. So and she was in LA and we were going on a lot of socially distanced walks, and it just was an organic extension of our friendship and our creative collaboration that we had just sort of come off of. And I think, yeah, we have always, for the short amount of time we've known each other, we feel very much like kindred spirits. And that we do share a lot of similarities. This was her first comedy what she describes as really being like a leading role, definitely in a comedy. And so it was fun to see her spread her wings in that arena, and she's just so fabulous in the film.
I kind of liken How It Ends to another one of my favorite sort of end of the world comedies, which is Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. I've kind of watched them both back the other day, actually, and which is a kind of weird feeling because it's dealing with a tragic situation and dealing with it with humor, but movies go together quite well. This question is for either one of you, whoever wants to take it. But what are you hoping people take away from it when they watch the film? What are you hoping that they get from it?
Hopefully a little catharsis, and like levity, a release, after this last year, which was so difficult, year and a half, we're still going through it, coming out of it, hopefully, that, gets people to want to investigate their own kind of inner state, maybe, or reflect on what's going on in me. We've definitely just all had a lot of time to pause and think about life and ourselves and who we surround ourselves with and what we want to do. And now there's like a new path that's starting to emerge for humanity. So hopefully, people leave this film thinking, how can I appreciate who I am, and hopefully consider all the important people in their lives. And
dogs too, and all the
dogs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, Zoe, Daryl, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking time with me, and I wish the best for you and the film. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.